again, and welcome to this COVID-19 update for you and your community right here on the Bass Coast, presented by Bass Coast Health and sponsored by Wonthaggi Miners Dispensary. In this update, we're taking a look at the workforce at Bass Coast Health in the time of COVID-19. And joining you is Reid, Human Resources Director at Bass Coast Health. Welcome, Jared.
Thank you, Kevin.
Even though in Australia it looks ever more promising each day that we may escape the true devastation of what COVID-19 can bring, hospitals across the country are preparing for any scenario. At Bass Coast Health, they continue to work around the clock to ensure they're ready for anything. So Jared, as Human Resources Director at Bass Coast Health, what planning has gone into the workforce and what have they been doing to ensure the hospital is prepared?
Wow, what a question, Kevin. Thank you. The plan is to respond to the unprecedented, really. We knew we had to grow our workforce for the future to keep up with the population growth here on the Bass Coast. So that part was part of the plan. And then a pandemic came along and ruined our well-laid plans and forced us to grow our workforce very quickly. And in just 2 months, in March and April, we employed an additional 142 staff, which is something like a 19% growth to our workforce, just to help us prepare for this pandemic and respond to it.
Right. And when did you know that things were changing and you needed to increase that workforce?
Well, it's actually interesting, isn't it, to think back to February and beyond this year when it started with small bits of news, didn't it? When there were certain pockets and certain outbreaks and certain travel restrictions.
Yes.
So it really came in increments, I guess is the best answer to that question, as we followed the advice of the Commonwealth Department of Health and the Victorian Department of Health and Human Services.
Another thing that we have established through talking to Jan Child, CEO of Bass Coast Health, is that you have needed to be agile. Things have changed very quickly and very often.
They have changed very often. I admire my colleagues who are clinicians who have had to keep up with some testing guidelines that have changed, if not daily, sometimes several times a day. I believe we're up to version 48 or 52, and that's in only these few short weeks. So the goalposts are changing daily.
So what have been some of the most impressive things you've witnessed?
Wow, where to start? I've seen some very impressive things from my colleagues in the last 8 weeks or so, 9 weeks or so. I've seen pallets of scrubs just appear seemingly out of nowhere. I know they didn't appear out of nowhere. I know a lot of hard work went into it. But all of a sudden, all these scrubs so that staff could attend work in clinical and non-clinical staff could attend work in their clothes, change into some scrubs, and which is obviously a more hygienic option for them, so that we could launder those scrubs at the end of their shift and they could change back into their clothes before they went home to their families. Those scrubs seemingly materialised within a very short amount of time thanks to some very excellent work. I've seen clinicians keep up with rules that seem to change every day. I've seen our environmental services team clean buildings that didn't exist only a couple of weeks ago. I've seen protocols change, and usually a health service would deliver these changes in a really well-planned, coordinated response. We've had to make these changes with days or hours of notice, and staff have just been so adaptable to get on board. And I think what takes the cake is just seeing in the middle of this pandemic response, remember when it all started and we were all fearful about what it meant and what it could mean for me and my family and those that I cared about. And I remember walking through our reception area at the Wonthaggi Hospital, and there would have been more than a dozen, let's say 20 people in the reception area, outside, down the stairs, in the car park. And this wonderful nurse, who I won't name, just calmly, one at a time, dealing with each and every one of the 20, from no, you actually don't need to be here, the safest thing is for you to go home, to yep, come straight through, pathology's down the corridor or on the left, to yeah, come in, we do actually need to swab you. Just calmly and compassionately working through each and every one of the 20. I've seen some very impressive things, Kevin.
Oh, that's great. It's wonderful to hear, and I've witnessed some of those things as well, and it's been heartwarming. So, Jared, finally, are there many staff working from home or other locations around the Bass Coast other than the main hospital in Wonthaggi?
Yes, Kevin, there's so many. In fact, the number this week is 118. That number changes from week to week, I don't mind telling you, as again, we're so adaptable and responding to this thing. But as at this week, there are 118 staff that could be working from home, that could be working from a work site that is not the one that they normally work from. They could be working in a building that usually isn't occupied by Bass Coast Health. And, we thank our friends at Bass Coast Shire Council for giving us a whole building in which we could deploy staff into in a safe way.
Quite incredible, that, isn't it? Yeah.
It is.
Jared, that has been great. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
And thank you for sharing us on Facebook. I look forward to seeing you again soon with another COVID-19 update. Until then, take care.